What's up everybody, Teancum here with Sew Yeah Quilting. Now in today's video, we're gonna make this beautiful quilt behind me using Vegas strips. Let's get started. So as always in these kinds of videos, just in case you are new here, what is a Vegas strip? Now, Vegas strips are in-house pre-cuts. We cut them here in our beautiful shop in Las Vegas, hence the name Vegas strips. They are 6.5 inches wide by the width of fabric. Think of it as a jumbo jelly roll. That way it shows off the blocks a little bit better. For instance, as you can see here, we've got these beautiful half square triangles. Now, if this was made out of a jelly roll per se, those would be itty bitty squares there. That's the reason why we invented this awesome product. Now, we're gonna pop open up our pack here. Obviously, not a gigantic quilt here behind me. It's because the Vegas strip I have chosen has equal lights and darks. So it makes it super easy. I'm gonna use up pretty much the entirety of this pack. If you have a Vegas strip that you absolutely love and you have a solid that you wanna pair with it, essentially it will jumbify this even bigger. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna separate your Vegas strips into equal lights and darks. And this is gonna be the same for every last strip in your bin. And we're gonna cut them down to be 6.5 inch squares. Now, some of you are gonna feel comfortable doing this, some of you are not. I always cut in layers. I never had a problem with it, so I'm gonna stack both of these on top of each other. So I'm gonna knock off that one edge, and then I'm gonna cut my 6.5 inch squares. So that's the waste per strip, which is nothing, right? A good little piece of fabric, but not a ton left over, which is fantastic. And we're gonna do this to all of our strips. And then from here, we're going to match them to make half square triangles. Probably everyone who's watching this video knows how to make a half square triangle, but if you don't, I'm gonna put the white on top of the color here, making sure they're right sides together if that matters. Once I have them lined up here, I'm gonna use my ruler to draw a line from corner to corner, top left to bottom right. Once we've got our line directly across, we're going to sew 1/4 inch away from this line on both sides here. Now, that's going to allow us to cut down the middle and have two half square triangles. So I'm going to take this to the sewing machine. First line, now I'm going to do my second line. So I'm going to do that to all my pieces here. Okay guys, now that I've got this cut, you can cut directly on that blue line to separate your half square triangles. I'm gonna go ahead and slice those into halves here. Now we still have to square these up, but we do need to cut them up first. To square up a half square triangle, there's lots of different ways to do it. Here at Sew Yeah, we use the Clearly Perfect Slide Trimmer ruler. I don't even know how to express how great this ruler is. It's the best, okay? With a ruler like this, all we do is we're gonna line up the bottom here. Take my rotary cutter, I'm gonna cut on both sides, and then it has little notches in it to cut off the dog ears. And when you open it up, it's a perfect half square triangle. You can't get much easier than that. Especially when you have a project that takes, 900 half square triangles. This is the ruler you wanted all along, okay? So guys, at this point, it's time to iron up all of these pieces here. Always, we're going to iron to the dark side. So guys, like I said in the very beginning of this video, you're gonna repeat this exact same step to all of your strips of fabric to be able to make this quilt. And they're all half square triangles. When you sew them together, it gives you this shape, which is the pinwheel. However, it is just a half square triangle at the end of the day. Something that's so crucial to this project is layout, okay? Orientation of this block actually matters because in reality, we've got one center block, which is what I'm gonna show you how to make. And then you're just gonna keep adding on and adding on to give it the effect that we're looking for. So guys, I just laid out here in front of me how I want to construct this quilt. I'm gonna do it in a gradation fashion because I got my pinks going to my kind of reddish oranges to yellow will be my finishing on this one here. And I've got all my blocks here, that way I understand how I'm going to start putting this thing together. Additionally, orientation really matters. So keeping organized in a numbering system, any system will work as long as you're sticking to it. And as you can see in this block here, it's actually a pinwheel, but it also gives you kind of the star pattern as well. So it's actually a pinwheel, but due to the effect, it's gonna give us a star-ish look. So to make a pinwheel, I need these to be like this. I need that one to be there. So you can see the start of the pinwheel there, but it still doesn't have the effect yet. Now I've done my very first one. Now I'm gonna grab my next set of blocks here. And essentially, I'm going to just keep adding on to this, giving it the same effect that I'm looking for. You should not have 3 of the same thing going together. You shouldn't have 3 prints in a row, or you shouldn't have 3 whites in a row. For instance, you can see how I'm starting to get a big stripe here when that's not what we're looking for. So I'm going to go around here. I'm going to add these in here. So as you can see here, starting to take shape even more so. Now, you can express yourself and change things however you like. This right here is a center point. You can see in ours, we took our center and brought it down just a little bit. Now, you could move that all the way down to the corner. You could run it dead center. You can run it down to the right, top left, however you want, but I'm going to stick with our example here. And guys, at this moment, pull out your phone, snap a picture of your design board, or if you have it on the floor, wherever you have it, take a picture of it. Make sure you're looking at it and that you like what you see, and this is the official quilt top, right? So now what I'm going to do here, knowing that this is laid out exactly how I want it to be, I'm going to take my bottom 2 pieces, sew them together. I'm going to sew everything in sets of 2. So I'm going to sew this one in 2, 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 so on and so forth. From there, I'm going to sew kind of a block together. I'm going to sew 2 from the bottom, 2 from the top together. That way I'm ending up with a rather normal block size. That way it's going to be easier for me to put them together and keep everything straight, because I'm working with blocks like we always do in quilting. So take this. So guys, now that I've sewn these in sets, I'm going to iron them all to the dark side, obviously. Then I'm going to sew my sets into blocks, blocks into rows, so on and so forth. Ironing time. I've pressed everything. They're in sets of 2. I'm going to turn them into sets of 4. Now, I want to turn them into blocks, essentially. So I'm going to slide this over on top. In quilting, everything we do is blocks, right? All of our quilts, we end up with a block that we sew together to make the quilt. So instead of trying to do these really long strips that are only 6 inches wide, I'm going to turn them into blocks. So my blocks together as if they're rows, and then I'll have a finished quilt. First one down, I'm going to just keep going through here. So guys, at this point, gonna iron all my blocks, and then we're gonna sew them together. So now I'm going to start sewing my blocks together to make rows, rows into the quilt top. So guys, I've got my rows here. I'm gonna iron these out, make sure they're all nice and straight here. I'm gonna sew my rows together, super simple. Just like that, we've got ourselves this beautiful start to a quilt. Obviously, I've got more rows to add on here, but the concept's the same all the way through. You're gonna keep on adding your rows over and over and over again. And again, my biggest thing here is sew them into squares, because squares are what we always do, and we're more naturally able to sew them together straight, because that's what quilting is all about, right? Making blocks and then sewing them all together. As always, down in the description below, there is a free PDF pattern there that you can download for free, and it's just a good reference guide, especially for block placement, because on the back of that page we'll have all your block placements. Additionally guys, if you've liked this video, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel if you're new, and don't be afraid to share it with your friends. Make sure you're checking out SewYeahQuilting.com, where we keep all of our Vegas strips and thousands of other products as well. So thank you so much for watching again, and we'll see you on the next one.